Have you ever felt like you're too opinionated to be liked? Like the moment you share an actual opinion, you're already replaying it in your head, wondering if you've ruined something.
If that's you, you're in the right place. Welcome back to Too Much Apparently, a podcast for deep feeling, overthinking, emotionally overloaded humans who've been told they're too much, apparently.
We're Alice and Carly, two deep feeling therapists figuring out how to live in a world that often feels like a lot.
This isn't therapy or advice, just honest, messy human conversations about life, healing, and our own brains. And if you want more of the conversation, we're building a little community over on Substack with journal prompts, community chats, live event updates, and fellow muchlings to connect with. Just search Too Much Apparently on Substack.
So let's get into it. Do you think of yourself as an opinionated person? Or have you ever been told that you are?
Well, it's tricky because of how much I relate to this episode. I think I am an opinionated person, but over the years, that part of me it's been squashed. So now I find it hard to describe myself as an opinionated person because I don't throw those opinions out like I used to, in a way that I would like to be able to do that more. This episode for me connects a lot to authenticity because there's something for me about having an opinion and not saying it in a way that feels a bit self-silencing and then doesn't feel congruent to myself. It doesn't feel authentic. And that's not to say there are, of course, situations where there would be literally no point in saying your opinion there, just be speaking to a brick wall, or where it could even be actively harmful for you to voice an opinion. So it's not that I'm saying I just want to spout my opinion off everywhere, but there are times where actually I would feel like I would want to say it, even if I wasn't going to get anything positive back, because it felt like I was being more true to myself if I was able to say it. So actually, I am opinionated, but because of what we're talking about in this very episode, I find it very hard to put it out there.
Yeah, I feel like I'm I just said to someone when I was at uni at the weekend that I was recognizing that I have really strong opinions sometimes and that I can be really good about speaking up about things that need to be changed, but that I don't necessarily have the skills to say the things in ways that make people want to listen to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm good at making myself heard, but not so great at presenting the information in a way that makes people want to change, perhaps. Feels like a really weird thing to say as a therapist. Although also not, I'm obviously not, being a therapist is not about sharing your opinions and people changing because of that. Yeah. So
different context.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's different context. Yeah. Well, even just that is really loaded, not only about communicating what your opinion is, but then having to do it in a way where it's then listened to is a whole other thing. And it's something else that, well, it annoys me actually, because sometimes it's because there's a genuine skill in being able to put something across in a way that people might engage with more. There are certain ways of saying things that are just going to immediately erect walls within people and they're not going to listen. So yes, we do have to think about how to communicate this thing. But at the same time, especially when you're women and you're already positioned as being angry over passionate, and you're expected to be likable and palatable and polite and demure and whatever, that actually sometimes things need to be said with passion, with anger, actually, in a way that might make people not listen. But also, you should be able to say it like that.
I'm so glad that you brought that in. I hadn't even realized until you said that the image that I had in my head for this episode, is an opinionated woman. And I had to even just stop myself and be like, what does an opinionated man look like? Mm-hmm. And I don't even know. And I can bring to mind, several images of people, but do we even use that word for men? Do we describe men as opinionated?
I don't know that we do. Well, certainly not to the same extent. Yeah. I guess that feels quite, feminine loaded.
Yeah, it is quite a loaded word, isn't it? It's also just reminded me that I was part of a friendship group, and one year we decided to give each other a word that we thought of when we thought of them, and we did it anonymously. So each person then got a list of words of how they were perceived in the group, which was a really lovely thing. And all the words were positive. And one of my words was opinionated. And the person that was coordinating it all messaged me and was like, I just want you to know this is opinionated in a good way, in like you'll stand up for yourself. But yeah, I guess just the fact that she had to clarify it.
Yeah. Yeah, that needed to be said. I wonder how, I appreciate this is generalizing, but I wonder how a man would hear being told they're opinionated versus how a woman might typically feel about being, would it need the same clarification, or would a man instantly be like, yes, great. Whereas would a woman be more likely to go, was I a bit too outspoken? Was I a bit too pushy? Yeah, I wonder if there might be an overall typical response there. Yeah, so I guess even before we get into the episode, we're kind of debating, how does the word opinionated even feel? But perhaps it's just about being someone who has strong values and views on topics. Not everybody does have. I want to say strong, I'm meaning passionate. Like they're passionate about their values and their views of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I think about this, like in order to be opinionated about something, there's got to be passion. There's got to be energy behind it. Like, I don't think many people are having intense conversations about, is vanilla a good ice cream flavor or not?
I mean, we certainly could. We could do that if you like.
Yeah, I suppose when I think for myself about being opinionated, what are the things that I'm going to be opinionated about? They probably are social justice type things.
Yep. Yeah, exactly the same. As soon as we came into the episode and I was thinking about opinions, I was thinking, injustice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the discomfort with sharing them for me is actually more, so it's less in confronting people that I know to have opposite opinions to me. So if I was to sit with Nigel Farage, say, and he belittled my opinions or was not interested in my opinions or whatever, that's not going to bother me so much. When it's people who I think like me or claim to be on the left of politics or anything like that.
Like maybe someone that you would respect.
Yeah. When they don't get it, so like a massive one, when people say therapy is not political, like, or when therapists say therapy is not political, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how could you, what on earth? And here we go, it's bursting out of me. And I think that's it. It's that this is one of the things is when I have these strong opinions, it's not like, oh yeah, I feel really strongly about this and it's contained. It can feel like it's bigger than my body and like it's bursting out and people talk about burning questions, don't they? It feels like a burning opinion, like I need to get it out of me. Yeah, going to burn me.
Yeah. Well, I could feel it, I could feel your energy shift as you named it. I guess that's what we're talking about when we have a passionate view or opinion on something that, it feels big. And sometimes when I want to speak or say something, so when I was talking about times where I might squash that or silence that, it is usually in spaces where I know that somebody would disagree. The moment that I'm going to say something, someone goes, oh yeah, but, and says something totally different to me. They're the times where I can squash it down, but I feel the burning. I feel it building up in me and I feel it in my throat, like kind of moving towards my mouth, getting closer. And then it just doesn't come out of my mouth and it just sits there. And then the conversation moves on and I've not said the thing, but then I'm still sitting with the feeling, it doesn't go away and the conversation's moved on to something else. And then I might even take the feeling away from me because it's not been able to be said. It's not played out. It's not had anywhere to go. And as I say, there are times when actually that's okay to have not said it. It wouldn't have been helpful. But there are times where I want to say it, even if the person's going to be like, what are you talking about? Because I'm not silencing myself. I'm saying my voice is important. Whether you hear it or not, I want to use my voice. I still want to state my thoughts and opinions. Yeah, I'm really trying to improve upon that. But as we're talking about with this episode, triggering points for not sharing those opinions could be rejection, especially if you experience rejection sensitivity, but also fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood. The other thing that I struggle with, and I am just going to totally own this, is that I often really just, I'm going to say feel like I'm right, but to be honest, sometimes it's like I know that I'm right. And that in and of itself isn't always helpful, because if I'm entering into a conversation with somebody knowing that I'm right and you need to see my point of view, I can't do that when I'm then not open to having someone else challenge my point of view or the fact that I could be wrong, which is often why these conversations don't actually go anywhere and sometimes are like talking to a brick wall, because there's no point entering into a discussion with someone when your views are opposite if neither of you are open to actually having your opinion changed, or if your intention is solely to, I'm going to get you to see my point of view. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. But yeah, I do have to hold my hands up that sometimes I do come into it just fully believing that I am right and you are wrong.
I'm exactly the same. And also, I want to hold that sometimes we are.
Well, yeah,
Sometimes we are right.
when your opinion is coming from something that's based in humanism, that's based in compassion and reducing suffering and harm, it feels right. But again, right and wrong is totally subjective. So I feel, no, this is right. I am right. But take a step back and actually everything's subjective.
Yeah. I think I really struggle with it. And I think this is why I struggle to be reasonable or to be perceived as reasonable in these conversations, because I think I hold a view that like everyone is entitled to their opinion until that opinion becomes action that is harming somebody or something.
But like people's perspectives on what is harm is still, there's some things that are definitely
Yeah.
objective, like, yes, they cause harm.
Yeah.
But there are, of course, still some things that are subjective where people think that causes harm and other people say that don't cause harm. That's fine.
Yeah. And then I'd say it's the people that are experiencing the harm. Like if someone is saying they're experiencing harm, it's causing harm. Yeah. Like it is definitely one of my weak points. And also something that I'm proud of, which I suppose feels like a bit, I always feel like I'm contradicting myself there a little bit. It feels like it's going a bit to, do we tolerate intolerance?
Mm.
Like in a tolerant society, do we have to tolerate intolerance? And
Okay. Yeah.
I would say no. I would say no, we don't. I would like to be better at being curious about people who hold what I would see as intolerant opinions or have intolerant behaviors. I'd like to be more curious. I'd like to be better at having conversations in a way that would help that person to see my point of view as well as their own.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I don't know, I feel a bit uncomfortable with going to say something like to try and change their opinion. But if I feel like they're doing something that's harmful, it's okay to change their opinion, I think, in my head. Yeah. I think I balance between saying the thing in a passionate way, I guess with a level of disregard for where the other person is coming from because I feel it so strongly, or I have felt so burned by those experiences that I just don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I can kind of bounce between those two and what I'm working on at the moment. So I've just agreed to become one of the student reps at university. So I'm like, right, this is a good opportunity for me to learn how I can talk about the need for changes to occur in a way that the university is going to want to hear it and respond, rather than how I would have gone into it when I was a student rep last time round, far too many years ago now. Where I would just go in there and just be like, right, well, we need this and we need this and we need this. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's jogged a memory, actually. So I've just realized that actually there's areas where I struggle to voice my opinions, but there are areas where I don't. Yeah, as you said, that I was immediately taken back into the workplace because I was kind of known as the person that would always speak up about problems and issues. in the workplace. And if anyone was going to have an opinion on something they were telling us we can't do anymore or we've got to do now, it was often me that, would be like, I have something to say on that, which I think is partly what used to contribute a lot to my repeated cycles of burnout, because I would be constantly having feelings about the politics in the workplace and people up above making decisions for people on that front line. Yeah, so I guess for some reason, there was not that much fear in actually pointing all these things out. Maybe it felt less personal. I think I just felt more confident, even if people didn't take on my ideas. This sounds wrong, but I think I'd just think like, well, you're being stupid then. I don't know how else to say it. But I would just see things that were obvious, like it makes way more sense if we just do it like this, because it just would make more sense. So then when it wouldn't get adopted or something and we'd still be doing it the convoluted way that would take loads of time. I don't think I mean that in like a arrogant kind of way. Don't know, maybe there is a bit, but I was just like, well, this is stupid. So yeah, whereas I guess if I'm voicing my opinion about something I value, that's really important to me. There's emotion tied to that. There's almost parts of my identity tied to that. So if you're rejecting that, you're kind of rejecting me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. I think that's why I was saying before, like if I'm having these conversations with somebody like Nigel Farage, there isn't that investment in it because I don't expect them to see me. I don't expect them to understand me. But when it's somebody that I hoped, that I respect them, but also that I hope they would respect me, that if they respond with dismissal, I suppose, is the thing. Do you know what? I suppose it ties in a little bit to the invalidation episode of like, oh, that's not a problem. Oh, that's not a thing. Oh, that's not important. Oh, that's not how it is. Yeah. Yeah, that stings more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, as we're sitting here, I'm just thinking about how does this show up for me in other situations? My husband would, I don't know if he'd use the word opinionated, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Because I don't hold back in that, in our relationship. And that feels good. In fact, when we met, one of the things that he said that he loved about me is that he knows where he stands with me. So that just feels like a green light to be like, right, this is this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose I hadn't thought about it when I was thinking about doing this episode, but I suppose it is really tied to injustice, this one. That it really feels like it is about, being angry. I suppose that's it. I suppose that's I'm working it out as we're doing this episode. But I suppose the thing that I'm asking myself is how can I hone my anger to, in a way that people can hear it, where it's strong enough for people to understand that this is really important to me, but not so strong that it overwhelms them. And they're like, oh my gosh, will she just shut up about this thing? There was, I was going to say there was an incident, which makes it sound really serious, but there was a conversation that I had with a group of friends. Oh, it must be a year ago now, if not more, where we were talking about something that was really, really important to me, and someone was talking about something that they'd read in the Daily Mail, and like, it's just like my whole body like tenses up, and like I can feel like my teeth kind of, what would you say? They're not grinding, but like clenching. Yeah, my teeth clenching. Of like, oh, how can you believe this stuff? And how do I get you to like see that isn't right? And and it was so like, I'm still sat with some shame actually for how I was in that conversation, because I was so desperate for them to understand that. I guess that's what came across, was more my desperation, and probably in my desperation, probably made myself look unreasonable or emotionally driven, rather than having facts to be able to back up what I was saying. I did have some, but yeah, it was really hard because it's a friendship group that I really value. And I think I've maybe pulled away a little bit from the group since then. And again, hadn't even really realized that until until just talking about it just now. But yeah, I guess it's hard. It's really hard to to feel things so strongly, and also to feel that, because you said before about rejection and then you listed some other things, and I can't remember what they were now, but I was like, those things feel like rejection to me. That if people don't see things my way, it can feel, it triggers the same feeling as rejection and sensitivity.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know for yourself, but for me, it's not even sometimes not seeing it my way, but someone just being interested in your perspective, even if they think differently. So if you're getting really passionate about something, and by the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with your opinion being emotionally driven rather than facts driven, unless you are a politician where you need the facts. The facts do matter. But yeah, like emotion behind it. But it's more if a friendship group sees that this is something that you clearly really care about, even if they're not on the same wavelength, just you can still try to understand or explore. Oh, tell me more about how you feel about that. There's still a way you can engage with it that's not shutting somebody down or everything about what you just said tied into too muchness. And then you're questioning, how can I put things across in a way that's not too much, that's more palatable for people? And there's such a big part of me that wants to say, no, just carry on, like the way that you are. And there's the other part of me that unfortunately knows that there is an art sometimes to these conversations. But yeah, I think it is just rejection. And it's hard when it's something that you deeply care about. And the reason why I think it's important for us and fellow muchlings is that if we are deep feeling people, we are likely to care deeply about things, which means we're likely to have more passionate opinions on stuff, but at the same time, potentially be more emotionally vulnerable to feeling shut down, to feeling rejected, to feeling misunderstood, not heard, invalidated, and all the rest. That, yeah, you might just really care enough to have these views, but equally care enough to feel devastated when people disagree or don't get it.
Yeah. And what I also want to add with this conversation that I had with these friends is I have not checked out with them how they perceived me.
Right.
So what I would have really liked to come out of that conversation, and this may well be the case, I don't know, because I haven't had the conversation, is to come away and to feel like they'd gone, oh, wow, Alice, this is really important to Alice. Maybe I should be a bit more informed about this or be a bit more open to different perspectives on this or something like that. But yeah, what the story I'm telling myself is they are 100% going away from this conversation and being like, she's nuts. She's crazy. She's out of her mind. She doesn't know anything.
That's hard.
Which I just want to be really clear is super harsh against my friendship group because they are not like that. But I think this is rejection sensitivity doesn't work on logic, does it? It doesn't work on logic. It can have you having all sorts of thoughts about all kinds of lovely people. But yeah, I think it's. Do you know what? I just had a thought. I'm just now thinking of it as a kind of impulsivity that people might associate with ADHD.
This is the saying of the thing.
Yeah. And how it feels in my body. It's like the part of my brain that needs to come online and go, oh, because you said at the beginning, you were like, it might not be a good idea to have these conversations, or it might not even be safe. Like there's part of me that was like, whoa, I'd never even thought about that.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And a bit like, ooh, what am I missing out on? And this is definitely part of my process. I absolutely think before I speak. Absolutely. When I'm not spending 100 years thinking about what I'm going to say. But yeah, absolutely think before I speak. And I think there can be an impulsivity to it. It's like I have to say it, like it's bursting out of my body.
Because you said you do think before you speak.
Yeah, well, both. I like to do things in extremes.
Okay.
So I'll either burst out of my body completely unprocessed and unfiltered, or it'll be like I'll spend 300 years thinking about the best way to word something before I finally say it. Yeah.
Gosh, you've been around a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the impulsivity part, actually, that's a good thing to mention, because there are genuinely situations where it might not be safe for us to share certain thoughts, certain opinions. There are lots of groups where certain opinions would absolutely not be welcome, like you could be at risk. And so,
can I just ask, do you have specific situations in mind when you say things like that?
yeah, I'm thinking of a trans woman sharing their perspectives on trans rights at a party filled with many right-wing, very unforgiving people.
Yeah.
I think there are certain topics that people might have strong opinions on, and there are certain spaces where if you take that, what you will get back. There's a difference between someone disagreeing with you and feeling a bit rejected by that, and then someone actually really quite harmful or hurtful things about that. And even topics that I'm not personally affected by, when I hear people talking about those issues in a derogatory way, in a harmful way, like I feel wounded, I feel hurt listening to those strong opinions because I care about them. But if you're someone who's actively affected by those things, could be, the consequences could be huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I'm thinking about, where you said about in your workplace, you were happy to be like, oh, I've got something to say on this. I can absolutely imagine that across the country, there are so many workplaces where opinionated women don't get the promotion because they're seen as troublemaker. Well,
Yeah.
not just women, but yeah, I guess just to bring in some kind of spectrum of safety that, yeah, if you're opinionated, that can have consequences. But I suppose the opposite is true as well, that if you never have an opinion on anything, if you never, that can also go against you. But yeah, I think there's so much systemic stuff in there, isn't there, of being outspoken and how that is perceived as women. Yeah, I think about, Black people being perceived as angry.
Yeah.
That is another one, that if they are the same level as passionate and expressing that they can just be dismissed as as an angry Black person.
Yeah.
And no doubt, countless other examples.
Yeah, but just some examples that highlight how it's not always safe to.
Yeah. And also that if you are part of a group that is oppressed, you're probably going to have more anger and passion because you've probably got more to be angry and passionate about.
Yeah, and strong opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also made me think about, so when I was thinking about, is Carly an opinionated person? It reminded me of the episode where we talked about, you'd said in a group chat about.
Was this about horse racing?
Yes.
That is so weird because literally I was just thinking about that then.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, have I said this on the podcast before?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What were you thinking? Just about it.
Yeah, that is one way that I know that you are willing to be opinionated, that you were just for anybody that's not listened to that episode, that you were in a group chat and they were talking about horse racing and you responded with.
Yeah, well, again, that was still difficult for me because it's a big family group chat and people were talking about putting bets on the horses. And I, really uncomfortable with that. It was a difficult one because it's, do I just not say anything and not engage? Like, I don't have to say I don't agree with it. But at the same time, I kept saying, you never voice your opinion. And so maybe this is a time just to put your opinion out there. But I still had to think about how to do it because if I'd have just, so this is where it comes down to it, if I'd have just jumped in with the first thing off the top of my head, I would want to be like, horse racing is barbaric. You should all be ashamed of yourselves and, list all of these awful things. But that's immediately going to put a wall up. So nobody's going to hear that. So I had to sit and think about how can I say it in a way where I'm staying true to myself. I'm putting it out there. Maybe someone might think about it, but in a way that won't trigger defensiveness. So instead, I tried to put something kind of lighthearted in, like a bit jokey, but still getting the message across, which was, so I said, or you could use that money to donate to a horse racing charity. And I think I just put like a winky face. So I don't know if that's the right way to go about it or not, but it felt better to me that I've not silenced myself when everyone's talking about something that I feel uncomfortable with. And I'm having feelings that my family are fine with that. So I want to say my thing, but I don't want to charge in like a social justice warrior. So I was able to say it, but say it in a kind of light-hearted way that this isn't a great thing. So that felt better for me to do it that way. But there's also annoyance in me that you have to think carefully about how to word it, and that I can't just actually say the thing that's in my head. Like I could have, but it wouldn't have got me anywhere.
Yeah, there's an issue with a venue that I go to and some of the facilities not being appropriate for the venue in a way that I think I know I am right. Doesn't meet health and safety requirements.
Mm.
And I have banged on about this so much that it's become a bit of a joke in the in the group. And but also I'm fed up of it. I'm so fed up. And I'm at the point where I just want to email someone or even like go into an office and just say like, WTF, this is not okay. What are you thinking? Like, how can I explain this for you? I just want to go in there with my facial expression, which you can't see if you're listening to this rather than watching, but like, come on, like, yeah. And so in this group, there's one woman who has been an HR manager for a long time, so is really good at kind of managing things in a professional way, and another woman who, yeah, again, has been in management. And I just want to say a quick hello to them because I know that they listen. And
Oh, hi.
yeah, and was talking with them recently about, yeah, that this is a skill that they've had to develop, is in saying things that in ways that other people are going to be able to, yeah, that they're going to get the best response from people. Yeah, and I guess I haven't had to do that because my careers have never really required that. And then I'm saying that and I'm like, if we're honest, or I'll say it for myself, if I'm honest, do I have to be diplomatic in my job as a therapist sometimes? And the answer to that is absolutely yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is absolutely yes. That sometimes I can't just say the first thing that I think in my head because that's not appropriate and it's not helpful. Thinking about, so people, I don't like pathologizing labels, but people with narcissistic processes don't very often come to therapy, but when they do, it's usually because they want you to agree with them. And so, yeah, you have to find ways to build the relationship to be able to challenge them, having to balance when are you challenging and not. So I suppose it is my skill set in some ways, but yeah, probably not about things that I'm super passionate about.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference, really, in terms of, I guess you can have an opinion on something, but not be super passionate about it, versus when you are really genuinely, when it's something that you really care about,
Yeah.
it can be much more difficult. But I think, and this is the thing that I spoke about near the beginning about trying to be my more authentic self, it's about learning when to speak and when not to speak. And I think when not to speak really is driven by whether there could be potential harm caused to you by speaking.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's important to speak even when you know the person doesn't agree with you. So in recent years, I've been really learning a lot more about the idea of self-abandonment. And any time that you have a thought, a feeling, an opinion on something, and you bite your tongue and you don't say it, you kind of betray a part of you in a way that is often coined self-abandonment. And the more you do that and strip away those parts of yourself, it can have a really big impact on how you view yourself as a person in the world. And it really can make you smaller and smaller. You just retreat more and more, which can affect so many things. So, as I've said, this is something that I've been trying to work on, actively not wanting to self-abandon. So it's learning the spaces within which you can share your opinion because you know people likely share a similar opinion and that can feel nice to share. And you can all get angry and passionate about it together. Like, of course, that's like the safest space, when you kind of know that that's the response, which is great. But I don't know that there are that many occasions when you're with a group of people who are fully going to be like, yeah, with you in it. So then you might have groups of people who kind of are on your wavelength, and they might have some differences of opinion, but overall you might get a relatively understanding response. So that's a place to try and share your opinion. But it's also important to share your opinion when you know someone's going to disagree with you. There is nothing wrong with trying to get someone to understand your perspective, but even if you're just saying it for saying its sake, because then you've not betrayed that part of you, you've not abandoned your values and what's important to you, you've said it just to say it. And sometimes it can be helpful to know that you don't have to say something with an expected outcome or needing a specific outcome, that you can have just said it because you care about it. And that's that. You just said it. Just put it out into the world.
Yeah. So what you're talking about there is saying it, I guess, almost regardless of the outcome, because it's important to say things, because it's important to be true to yourself. What it's also making me think about is times where I have been opinionated and I've come out of the situation and been like, oh my God, why did I say that? What was I thinking? What are they going to think of me? Da, 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 that whole spiral. And then people have said, I'm so glad you said that.
But like later or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, I was thinking that, but I was too afraid to say it, or anything like
Yeah.
that. And I had a situation recently where it was the reverse of that, where I was with someone who voiced an opinion and I could see what it had taken for them to voice that opinion, that it had taken energy. And I felt so bad that I hadn't joined them and said the same thing. Yeah, that's something that's important too, isn't it? I guess is recognizing the impact that it can have on us to say those things, and also being brave and saying the things so that other people aren't always the only people saying the things. But yeah, it just made me think about the positives of being opinionated sometimes, that it can give people permission to do the same.
Yeah.
I really love that, actually. It's something that I'm really drawn to, particularly in women. Yeah, I love opinionated women. That's making me think of Ashley James.
Oh,
I love
yes.
the
Yeah.
stuff she does. I love it. I love it when she goes on. So she's, if you don't know her, how would you even describe her? She's not an influencer, is it? Well, I feel like she's a presenter on various things. I may know her from This Morning, well, from Instagram, but I know that she sometimes presents on This Morning, or she's a guest on This Morning. But she will have conversations with usually old white men with outdated opinions. And she really just stands her ground and says these things. And yeah, I love that. I really love seeing powerful women be outspoken. I think it's such a
Yeah.
good thing.
I'm the same. And if there's any accounts that I'm going to follow, it's often those ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'd love to be more like that. I think I definitely do still, like on my own social media, my business social media can hold back from saying what I want to say. And I feel like I'm moving into this new phase now where actually I'm just going to be like, you know what? This is what I think. And this is my page. And if you don't want to hear it, don't want to follow it, you can unfollow me, you can block me, whatever. But yeah, there's something about, and I think it is that self-abandonment piece. I'm really glad you brought that term in, and feel like we perhaps need a self-abandonment episode. And again,
Yeah.
well, how we haven't done that one yet. But yeah, it is such an important concept to be aware of, because it can have such a huge impact.
Yeah. As you were talking as well, I was thinking about self abandonment might feel preferable to feeling abandoned by others.
Yeah.
I might be worried about sharing a strong opinion with friends because I might think they might not want to be my friend because I have that view or opinion, which just sounds a bit daft, because why would someone not want to be my friend because I care a lot about people being hurt or harmed? Like, I don't know, it doesn't quite make sense, but it's how I feel. I feel like if I push this, if I voice this too strongly, it's going to be a bit much for people and maybe they won't like want me as a friend. So this is unconscious, but preferable to self-abandon rather than have people abandon me for my views. The idea of that is really painful. But equally, if someone were to abandon me for those views, well, they're probably not worth keeping around anyway, right?
I suppose that's the bind, isn't it? Because yeah, that there can be those parts of you that are like, well, if they don't like that part of me, then maybe I don't want to be their friend anyway. But if you have experienced continued rejection or deeply impactful rejections, I think if we experience a new rejection, it's almost like it hooks back into that old rejection again and it brings it
Oh,
all
yeah.
with it. So it's not just feeling the rejection of somebody who actually wasn't as aligned to our views as we thought or hoped. But yeah, it pulls up everything. And I think it does, you know, especially with rejection sensitivity, can make you feel like it's me that's the problem. And it is, I think it's an uncomfortable reality. You know, people talk so much, don't they, about setting boundaries and about just be yourself. But the reality is, if you do that, some people are probably going to distance themselves from you. Now, having been through that process, I would say, painful as it is, it's good because that creates more space for people who are more like you know, that you will enjoy the company of more. And I don't think it lessens the pain of having to go through that phase of losing those relationships, you know, especially if it's like a long-term friendship or a relationship or family member, you know, I'm kind of even thinking it, you know, on the level of family estrangement, that can happen sometimes if that is, yeah, if you need to give up self-abandoning for the good of your own mental health, but a relationship requires you to self-abandon, then that relationship may well not last.
Yeah.
That is hard. There's no, you know, there is no easy way around that.
No, there isn't. Yeah. When this is something that you can struggle with, or you want to share your opinion more, or maybe you do share your opinion, but the anxiety about what might come back from the other person is so great. I'm just thinking about the effect that does have on a person over time or the cost of that. And even just for me, I'm thinking about times when I've actually plucked up the courage and I've gone and I have said the thing and my body is just flooded with heat and I can feel the tremors in my hands. It's so annoying that it just happens. And then I've said it and then you can just feel like the anxiety and how that's impacted like your nervous system, and then it has to gradually come down from that. So in the moment, it can, I mean, you use the word energy before, like the energy that it took that person. Like sometimes it can take a lot internally to actually then voice the thing. But then afterwards, it's, are you confident that you've said the thing and think, oh yeah, I'm glad that I've said that thing? Or are you then coming away with the post conversation rumination where you're then spending hours or days or, you know, even months later, just returning to what it is that you said, especially if it's been met with disagreement, conflict, or just an awkward silence and the conversation's just been, oh, right, okay. And then it's moved on to something else and you're like, oh my God, I want to die. But long term, the impact of that.
Yeah, it can be huge. And well, I think you alluded to it earlier when you said that it possibly led to burnout for you.
Mm.
And I wanted to kind of catch that and I guess reframe it as like it's not the speaking up that causes burnout, it's the society that ignores the speaking up or creates situations where we need to speak up. Yeah, but yeah, no, the cost can be huge, whether it's in the moment, whether it is at the extreme risk end that we touched on earlier, or whether it is that continual drip drip, or as you were talking, I was thinking about anticipatory rejection sensitivity. So like before anyone's even responded and you're like, oh my gosh, I've just said the thing. What did I do that for? And you're kind of, you know, anticipating that rejection before anyone's even said anything to you. Like it's all just, yeah, it's all a strain, isn't it, on your nervous system? And it is tough. And I don't think there is any right answer about how to handle it. You know, certainly at times I've gone too far into not saying anything at all and then feeling like I've lost my identity and become super bland.
Mm.
So as not to have
Yeah.
opinions or feel like a fraud because I've got all of these intense opinions inside me that I'm not voicing. And then I think, oh, if you really knew what I was thinking, you wouldn't like me, which is also not pleasant. Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it is really tough. I was also at the start of the episode when I was talking about this is actively something I'm still working on. There was a second voice that came up, a bit judgment, like, oh, why? Like, why is this something you're still having to work on? But I kind of just had a flash of realization there that talking openly about your opinions the landscape has actually changed quite a lot in recent years about what it means to be open and share your opinions, because we're more polarized than ever, and people's views are now stronger or more extreme, but at the very least controversial. And people are more willing to put very controversial feelings just out there socially over dinner at somebody's house, that you're coming up now against just these really strong opinions, that learning how to speak up and share your opinion might actively be something that, like me, you're still working on, because you're working on it in a landscape that has actually changed quite a lot in recent years.
Yeah, when you said it's changed, I was like, it has changed, but I also feel like it's changed in several ways. And I was interested to see which way you were going to take it, because I was thinking about the way that we, through feminism, we have shifted away from, not fully, but to some extent, shifted away from women being hysterical with their opinions. So there is more tolerance, probably from women, for opinionated and emotional women.
Yeah, not if you see the comment section by the men instead.
Yeah,
and then things,
but then, like you say, people have been. So if we just take Brexit as an example, people have been emboldened to share more racist and xenophobic opinions out of nowhere that they probably would have been too ashamed to share. And then you're in the dilemma of, do I stay silent to keep the peace because this isn't really the place to be having disagreements? Or actually, do I have a responsibility to speak up? Especially, so if something racist is said and there's somebody there that is black or brown, do I sit there as a white person and say nothing and try and smooth over? Or do I have a responsibility not to leave the black or brown person having to speak up on their own? Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, that feels like a no-brainer to me. That feels like, of course, you speak up. But the toll is there constantly. So yes, it has shifted, both in that it is more okay to share your opinions, and also in that, I was going to say people that probably shouldn't be sharing their opinions are sharing their opinions, and that we're having to counter share our opinions back to bring some balance into the conversation.
Yeah. It's really difficult to know how to handle those situations. And there's times where I've said something when someone said something that is just not acceptable. And there are times that I haven't, and then I've felt horrendous for ages that I haven't. It's difficult because you can't take the weight of the responsibility of the world on your shoulders to speak up on behalf of everyone and anyone at all times.
Yeah.
But also it's really difficult when that really conflicts with your values and you kind of want to be able to say something. I kind of feel like the summary of this episode is, this is difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could have just opened with that. Opened and closed with that. Yeah, this is really difficult. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
At least people know they're not on their own with it. I think, again, this is one of those things where you can really feel like you're the only one, especially if you're not checking out with people afterwards for how they took what you were saying. So, yeah, it is really hard. We haven't got any answers, and you're not alone.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye. Yeah. Well, if you've ever felt like you're too opinionated to be liked, like you spent the entire car ride home rehearsing exactly what you said at dinner and what you should have said instead, and whether that one person went a bit quiet because of you.
Maybe that's not a sign you need to dial yourself down. Maybe it's a sign you care deeply about the things you think and about the people you're saying them to.
Next time, we're diving into Too Loyal to Let Go. For the 3 a.m. friends, the endless chance givers, and the people who love deeply, stay too long, and struggle to stop caring even when they've been hurt.
But before we go, we'd love you to come and join our Substack community, Too Much Apparently. It's where we're sharing journal prompts for every episode, hosting a community chat so you can actually talk to us and other muchlings, dropping early updates on new episodes, and planning live events. If you want to stay connected between episodes, come and find us. The link is in the show notes.
And if this episode made you feel a bit less alone, subscribe, rate the podcast, and follow at Too Much Apparently on Instagram and TikTok. Those small clicks help other sensitive humans find us.
But for now, we'll leave you with this. Whose voice is it really when that inner critic tells you that you said too much?